Using crayons for weathering? Really? Let's have a look then. Hi folks, welcome back to AIRBRUSH Railways. Thanks for joining me, I'm Craig, and this week we're going to be looking at weathering. Now, I have spent a lot of time in this hobby doing weathering. I spent time doing professional weathering for people in terms of commission work. I've done weathering for model railway companies for promotional work. I've even led several weathering courses for people to learn the basic techniques on how to weather their models. I use various mediums from weathering powders to washes, to oil paints, oil brushes, even the airbrush from time to time. So I think I have a fairly rounded view and skill set and qualification, if that makes any sort of sense, about what can be used for weathering and how to do weathering. So I was really puzzled when Andy at Sawyer Models sent me a pack of crayons. And says, here you go, do a video on the crayons, Craig, and about weathering. These are the crayons. They're from Mig. Mig are the guys that do the really good paints and the oil brushes that we had on the channel a few months ago, which are really good. And I do use the oil brushes still to this day. But how could that compare with crayons? Okay, let's have a look at what you get in this box. The lock and load system from Mig.ammo. Let's open it up, see what's inside.
Welcome to Sawyer Models of Lee, your stop for model railway items, locomotives and more. With an absolutely fantastic range of locomotives in O gauge, double O, N, TT and more, you are sure to find the perfect locomotive to fit your budget. Ordering simple, you can either order on his website, go to the shop, pick up the phone or see him at one of the many trade shows they attend throughout the season. With one of the biggest trade stalls you will ever see at a model railway show. Thanks for your support, boys and girls.
Here we are at the weathering desk. Basic weathering set. Okay. Comes in this little booklet. We've got like a magnetic opener on the side there. And you have this instruction manual which tells you what you get in there. You get the pen and a bunch of crayons to begin with. And the instruction booklet gives you some examples of what you can do. Although this is a little bit misleading, because what it shows you and what it shows the pen's doing are not the same thing. For example, on this bit here, you see what he's done there. He starts out with this red bit and then does a bit of shading, and then you have kind of what he has here with additional steps. That's fine. What you can't do, from what I've already seen, is start from nothing and then weather your complete piece with just the pens. So let's bear that in mind. We'll find out what you can actually do with them a bit later on. So for starters, let's have a look at the actual pen itself. It's pretty robust, to be fair with you. You have a pencil sharpener built into the back there. They do call it pencils, but these are crayons. They're crayons. Twist it off, and then you have this pencil sharpener built into the top there, and you can just sort of shove the crayon in the end there. So let's just, I don't know, sharpen one of these. Let's sharpen the white one. You got to be careful getting them out because they're easy to snap, as you can see there. Look, snap that. So you've got to be careful getting them out of this foam. Slide it in the edge there, give it a twist, and then you can sharpen it. And then you have this lovely white powder, which can be, you can do with that white powder just whatever you want. You can line that white powder up, and then you can, anyway. So that's how you sharpen the crayons if you want to. Depending on the effect you're after, you can leave them blunt and then do side shading. I'm not convinced you need the pen, to be fair with you. Because it does kind of work without the pen. So I've got this little shelter here. You can just sort of see what, run it along there like that, and the effect's subtle. You can just sort of see what a little bit there, and you just, I don't know, you get the point. So what I'm going to do is put the lid back on. So question is then, how do you load this thing? Well, you push that down And the big claw comes out. Look at that. Jesus Christ. That looks, but you can see there, look, the crayon sort of hiding inside. This is the gunmetal colour. And this is actually pretty nice for highlighting the edges of metal and making it look quite shiny. So essentially you push down like a junkie on payday, push the crayon to about there, and then release, and then you have this nice little pen. And it does actually feel quite nice when it's in your hand like that, and it just lets you do what you need to do with it. So I'm going to grab a model and we're going to just see what can actually be done with this and see if it actually is any good. Okie dokie then. So I've got one of these Akira scale hoppers which I've already weathered previously, and immediately the issue I can see is the camera isn't making that colour look true to life, which is a bit frustrating. But yes, I weathered this particular wagon with a mix of washes, oil paints and weathering powders, both applied raw and with the whole Umbral matte coat, which is a really good bit of kit actually. Really, really good for using powders and pigments and washes and making washes and things. Really cool bit of kit. So let's see what can actually be done with this. Now on the inside of this wagon, I've got a little bit of detritus. Let's get rid of that. So what I think we've got the gunmetal flavour inside there already. So just retract the edge there. And I think what we'll do is we'll just give a little bit of a highlight to this edge piece here, so you can see a little protrusion there. We're just going to give that a gentle colouring on the edges. You've got to be careful with these side pieces because they can come off quite easily. So we're just going to be gentle with that. And this is a bit like being back at school really. You're just gently sort of applying the edge there, and then maybe on the bit at the bottom, and maybe a couple of scratches in there too. And you can hopefully start to see the difference it makes. So we'll get one of these side beams here, do the same. Just down the side there, and you can see that it catches the light really nicely. And it just gives that impression of this is metal and not plastic. And I know you can get paints, and people out there are going to say, well, you can just use a normal number 2 pencil for this. And yeah, I guess you could. You really could. Yeah, that's absolutely an option out there. You could just use a number 2 pencil and get a very similar sort of effect. Yeah, so you can sort of see the effect that's having there. That's quite nice actually. Colouring along there, and you can use the flat side to really get on there and really bring out that what do you even call that, valance? I don't know what you call it, but it just adds something for the eye to catch. We can maybe get this beam down here and run a bit of metal down the side of that. And again, like I said at the start of this video, these are great for adding the sort of finishing touch to a piece. So you can have scratches too with it. Let me just adjust this a little bit so you guys can see better. There we are. So you've got, let's see. And it's important that you don't curve if you're working down with anything like this, be it a brush or a weathering crayon or pencil or whatever you want to call it. It'll look too curvy, and you don't want that. Okay, that's good. So you got the basic bits there. Apparently what you can do is you can get water on this with a brush. I've got any of my brushes that aren't already filthy and covered in shit. There we are. Apparently you can use the water and you can dilute it and sort of soften the effect. Yeah, so you can see there, look, it's kind of activating like a wash. But again, there's better ways of doing washes, so I'd probably just say that if you're going to use it as a finishing touch application, if you will. So we've done that. Let's add a bit more rust. So we'll get rid of the gunmetal for now, and we'll pick one of the rust colours out. So you get the box here. Apparently, if you do this with it, let's go for some angry rich rust. Apparently, if you're supposed to do this or something, you're supposed to use the edge of it like that, and all I'm doing there is just breaking the tip. I don't know, but whatever. Get that out there. Okay, so this is meant to be like a fresh, angry rust. So let's just think of a place. Well, you normally get rust in corners, don't you? And this is a pen, so if we just right into that little gap there. Yeah, see what you can do there. You can give it that. And it looks really vibrant on the camera, but it's actually a lot more subtle in real life. It's actually a lot more subtle when you see it in person. And again, this is the issue with cameras, isn't it? You can't really. It's not too bad. Because of the nature of the application, though, it's quite grainy. So that's maybe one bit of yellow on there. We could do with a darker tone now, actually, for some more rust. So let's just see again. Let's see the snap really easily. It's not great. They do snap quite easily, guys. So just bear that in mind. Let's try this red colour here. Yeah, so you get the tone difference in there now. And it's like real rust, you need to build it up. And it's the same as you would do with like weathering powder or with washes or anything. It's all about the layering. Weathering's all about layering anyway. But with these, it certainly seems to help if you just... There you go. So that's a nice bit of rust on the underside there. Let's just try and bring that down if we can. Try and get this on camera. Keep it straight, streaking. It's not too bad actually. Yeah, and it's not as messy as like a powder or a wash is. There's certainly no stinky chemicals or anything. This pencil's still a bit damp from before, so let's see if we can soften that effect. Yeah, a little bit of water on there, it just softens it and you can manipulate it further. It's not too bad. Pretty cool actually. Let's try it on a darker area, so some underframe. I'm trying to weather this with a camera in my face, by the way. A little bit on there, perhaps some on the brake blocks, the wheel chocks. Yeah, so it's... Again, it looks really vibrant on camera, but I can't stress enough that it really isn't. It's a lot more subtle in real life. Let's try and get some on this V here. You need to think about how you attack this. You can't just go at it like you would with a brush. It doesn't catch everything like a brush does. You've got to think about how you get onto it. Yeah, you can see there, you can add the rust. So for detailing, after the piece is dry, I'd say, yeah, these are actually pretty good. They're mesh free, they hold up to interference from the finger, pretty good. They do still wipe off, but it's not as bad as weathering powders would be. Yeah, it's pretty good, not bad at all. Let's try and get some rust into these leaf springs on here. And of course, the lighter you are with your touch, that will directly affect the amount of crayon pen or the effect that it has on the piece itself. So I'm just going to be gentle in there. Yeah, so that's pretty good actually, to be fair with you. And they're a nice little addition for adding those little finishing touches to stuff like this. You can use the detail. If you've got a high quality detailed wagon like the Secure Scale one, there's loads of detail that just sort of protrudes from the model. It allows you just to really get the rust in there. You see there, you can just do a full block like that, and it kind of looks okay, not so bad. Maybe a bit up there in the corner there. You see the harder you press with it. So you've got really harsh in the corners there, then I'm just going to gently feather. And then maybe down a little bit with the side of the crayon there. The side there like that, pretty good. And then we will add, so you just got to be careful, it always makes me nervous putting them back into the little casing. Give that a sharpen, see what happens. Because you get all this powder left over, which when we put in the wagon, I'm sure we can make a use for that later on, put that in the corner. That kind of looks like in fact, if we get our, this is why you get distracted, Craig, but if we just get our brush full of water, mash that in there, into the stuff we've just sharpened off, actually, what you can see there is we get this cool little, almost like a wash on the inside of the wagon there, so that's actually pretty cool. So that's pretty good. So yeah, there's no waste, yeah, as it were. Although I will say this, it wasn't a green colour when I put it in there, but yeah, okay, cool. So we'll put the yellow into the pen itself. There we go, cool. And we're going to just add some highlight now. That darker rust that was in there earlier, just over the top. And because the colours are slightly translucent, your eye will sort of do the rest and let you sort of see the finished thing as one. So we can get on the inside there. Yeah, so you can see on the inside of that wagon now. Adding a bit more yellow. Then you can put your water in there again like we did earlier. Wash it down. Yeah, pretty cool. Okay. On the ends here, we can just sort of go over the top of these little raised areas. Give the impression of a little bit of rusting on the metal there. Put that away. I'm really annoyed about that. Really annoyed me. Let's see what other colour rust we've got. We've got this nice. Yeah, that's a nice colour there. Look at that one. Let's try this one. Yeah, that's a good little shade, that. Put them both on there. And it just adds that extra detail. It's not a bad little thing, to be honest with you. It's great for the harsher effects. As I say, if you just want to add a little bit of detail without getting the full kit out, then you can do. And you can just soften it down with a damp brush again. That's the wrong damp brush, Greg. Just like that. It just, yeah, pretty cool. Not bad at all. So then, final verdict. What do we think? So has Mig revolutionised the world of weathering for model railways with the invention of the lock and load system? I don't think so, but what I will say is this. I was very, when I first received them, very confused and like, well, why do I need to use these? I can't possibly see use for them. And actually, when you do sit down with them and you actually practice with them a little bit, you can see the usefulness for them. adding little bits of detail to a finished model, like the Akira scale little hopper wagon here, look. It just brings out those fine details again, and it's a much easier way of doing things than getting out the full weathering system or the airbrush or the washes and waiting for things to dry. If you just want to add a little bit of detail, or just put that finishing touch on something, maybe on a bogie frame or on a balance or on a strut or something like that, or even on the inside of a wagon, it does help bring out those little details just a little bit more. Andy still has some available, so if you want to try them, do get in touch with Andy at Sawyer Models, guys. Give them a shot. I will be using them again. Definitely will be using them again. I wasn't aware of them before. I'm glad that Andy sent them to me because, to be fair with you, any weapon in the arsenal for weathering is always a welcome addition. And it's nice that there's a different way of doing things now, and the pen really does feel nicely in your hand, and it's easy to maneuver and things. All the thing I will say is just be really careful putting the crayon things back in the packet, because they do like to snap quite readily. So just be nice and gentle with that when you do reinsert them into the packaging. Please do subscribe, guys, if you've enjoyed what you've seen today. It does mean a lot to me, helps the channel grow, and it validates my existence on YouTube. Drop a like and share the video if you found it useful, and I'll see you all next time. Take care, thanks for watching, bye bye.